Good morning, everyone. You'll have to excuse me. I'm coming from my bed very early on a Sunday morning to you with a message. I woke up and the brain was whirring about stuff. I'm just going to readjust you here. Brain was whirring, and it became really, really clear to me in recent weeks that there are a number of players in the game, and they're not necessarily bad players, but there's a number of players in the game, some in the US, some from the UK, who are pushing certain people into the spotlight as potential good guys for our political system moving forward. Now, as everyone knows with me, I'm a what comes next person. You know, I am in no doubt we win this. Yeah, we've got to get back up. We've got to do our thing. We've got to play a role, but I'm in no doubt we take this. However, don't become complacent at all. But we saw it Steve Bannon the other day pushing Liz Truss, a number of the kind of players in the US who are thinking along the same lines as us or similar lines have been pushing Farage for a while. I'm in no doubt there'll be external influence on what our next government looks like with what I think are the best of intentions. I'm not suggesting anyone here is playing a nasty game. However, I'm pushing back, and I've made comments to the US, to certain people, saying, thank you guys, you play your part, you do what you do, but it is up to us to decide who is in our next government. It's as simple as that. Even within the UK, there's good players who are lining up certain people, and I am going to push back. I'm going to push back really hard. Whilst I understand and support, actually, the need for a transitional government to remove the bad players, start the tribunals, start offloading the illegal immigrants, start coming down hard on our benefit system, start putting the right people in place within the NHS to manage it, certainly looking at our education system and the judiciary and the police and the whole lot. There needs to be a transitional government that starts that and very much triggers a decentralisation process. I go on about this decentralisation a lot, and that's because I feel incredibly powerful about it. We have to get the power back at individual and community level. And that means that I want to see even county councils massively decentralised. Honestly, local, district, town, parish councils holding far more power than they do now. Because if you think about it logically, how can we, the people, influence what's happening in our area if we can't get to the people who are making the decisions, if we can't express ourselves, share our concerns, have a voice, and come together in numbers to apply pressure at the right time to make them move in the direction we want. County councils are all virtually bankrupt. They're actually destroying things as they go. It's actually county councils that are calling climate emergencies, not the government. The government actually I'm not sticking up for them, but they haven't done that. That's the councils who are calling for climate emergency. So these guys hold a lot of power and they have our money. And I personally, if I was in government, I'd be saying, right, I want immediate audits run on every single county council across the UK. And those that have been seen to spend money frivolously on stupidity or not doing the best thing by the people will have to face a court of law. I mean, that's how far I would go with it. But back to my original point. I want everyone to put it on their radar. I want everyone to be thinking about what comes next. What do we want that to look like in terms of government? How long do we have a transitional government for? I wouldn't want to see a transitional government for any longer than 12 months before a GE was called, because 12 months gives us time to get independent candidates forward. I want to see that process made easier and far more accessible financially, because at the moment it's not cheap to run as an MP candidate. So we need to ensure that whoever comes in next is made up of people who understand the reality of the situation and have the cojones to start triggering all of the actions that need to be taken. But we must also expect those people within 12 months to be holding a GE and give us a big heads up on that so everyone can get organised. We can start getting us regular but awake, aware, well-meaning and passionate people who want to fix our country. Not what we want for us as individuals, what we want how we want to fix our country. So, I mean, I, for one, would potentially stand up. I, for one, would join a transitionary government. I have very strong feelings on how things should be done moving forward. And my aim is for we the people. I want the Bank of England ripped apart. I want to see massive change. And I'm not talking about progress for progress sake either. I think the progressives have caused more problems than they ever maybe thought they could imagine to do. So they've caused massive disruption. I don't believe in progress for progress sake. I believe that actually it wouldn't hurt us so much to start looking at where things were back in maybe 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, how things were looking then. And actually we had a healthier, happier world, if I remember rightly, and from what I've seen. And do we need to start thinking about that? Do we need to start thinking about how much our screens have an impact on our lives, and not just our lives, our young people's lives? Do we need to have a, if you like, societal revolution in terms of how we conduct ourselves as well? What is stuff that we could do with removing from our lives, or certainly not necessarily removing, but putting on the back burner more so? Do we need a cultural shift in terms of how we view technology, how we view this insular world that we've been kind of led towards living within? Do we need to have a transitionary government that are going to support a societal shift in our priorities? So many people, I mean, I do it myself. I catch myself on my phone and I'm just re-scrolling and I'm thinking, what am I doing? What am I doing? Sorry, I'm going off at tangent there. It's something I feel quite passionate about. But I do think we need a transitional government that comes in and does ask us to start looking at our priorities and start looking at, not telling us what to do. Let's not go back down that road, but certainly inspiring us to make the cultural shifts we need to change. We need to be having some really tough conversations about our cultural and national rights within the UK. We've become very multicultural. And on the surface, it sounds wonderful. Let's have all these people together. Let's share it. But what we lose as a result of that is a national identity. And people think before, oh, that's just racist. No, it's not. It's not. We've seen this experiment. We've seen this multicultural experiment taking place. I don't think that us native people are any better off for this at all. Not at all. We make so many allowances for other cultures. I mean, it's not to say I don't want to see other cultures in the UK at all, but let's not lose our culture to make space for theirs. That's not how this should work at all, as far as I'm concerned. Some people might push back on that. You crack on. But this is my opinion. We need to take back our culture. We need to embrace our culture. Don't get me wrong, there's some foul stuff in our history. There's some really foul stuff in our history. But that doesn't mean we don't lose, we have to lose our identity, that we have to lose who we are. And I mean, I think in terms of the transgender agenda, I think we should be pushing back against that massively. Not that I don't think people should be allowed to be who they are. You do you, sunshine. You do you. As long as you're not, as my friend would say, as long as you're not hurting the children or the animals, you crack on. But the push towards the transgender normalization, particularly the messaging around children, I mean, that has to stop immediately. Immediately. Gone. Because it's having such a detrimental effect on young people's mental health, along with other issues, but certainly this is something that is prevalent at the moment. We have so much to do, and whether we like it or not, where we go next will very much depend on this transitionary government. And if they don't start decentralisation, I personally will cause there'd be some sort of rebellion, because we have to learn the lessons of the last, well, for some of us it's decades, but certainly for the last few years, we have to learn the lessons from that. And if we don't, we are missing a trick, because we don't want to go through all of this to end up back at square one in exactly the same position we were before. This mentality that profit is probably the most important thing. Everyone works towards, everyone wants, no, that has to change. Yeah, people got to make a profit. I get that. It's not a problem. Why is that the priority? The priority is, because our economy is so screwed at the moment and has been for some time, that actually people no longer have a choice. They've got to make money, you know, an absolute priority in their lives. So, you know, the economy's got to be fixed, and none of that is difficult. None of it's difficult. It's common sense stuff. And we could do that very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. You remove a lot of the stuff. I mean, it's like foreign aid. I've said this before. I've no doubt there are a couple of countries that desperately do need money and genuinely need money. And I think maybe we should listen to what they've got to say for sure. But I'd say 99% of the foreign aid we're sending out there, we need to pull back immediately. We need to get our troops back into the UK. You know, how many of them are over in other countries genuinely supporting people who are in dire straits? We know what the West has done with the military over the last 20, 30, 40 years. And it's not pretty. So we need to pull our troops back. We need them here. I mean, we need them here quite quickly as well, because if we're going to offload these illegal immigrants, then we need the numbers. And our police force, they ain't up to it, let's be honest. So I know I've done a bit of a ramble here, but it's stuff that's prime in my mind. And whilst we all want to push to see the bad guys cornered and out of the picture, we do have to spend some time mulling over what comes next. We do have to create the expectations that we want for society moving forward. We need to be influencing and reaching out to people in authority to remind them that actually you're here to serve us. So what we want you to do is start the wheels in motion, not take too long to do it. Ensure that you move forward with a democratic process of allowing for a GE within 12 months. With a heads up, please. And it really is down to we, the people, to then let our voices be heard. How do we want the future to look? What do we want that to look like? Do we have a multicultural issue in the UK? Do we have an issue with how we're spending money? Do we have an issue with the power that county councils have got over the entire county that has taken power away from the more local town, parish, council situations? We've got a massive issue here, guys. And it's all well and good changing that central government, but we've got to change the rest as well. That's got to shift. And we need to take our power back. I'm not talking this whole communistic, community focus and that's it. You work as one drone to work in the same direction. I want people to come together at community level and work together, but don't lose your independence. Don't lose your individuality. Don't lose your own autonomy, ever. Never allow that to happen. What I want to see is we learn the mistakes of previous years and we apply new ways of thinking and new ways of approaching things moving forward. But it's up to us to select our governments. It's up to us to decide what that looks like. And however well-meaning other countries might be in trying to influence what our government looks like moving forward. I'm not saying they will, but they're making the noises. You know me, I look for patterns, constantly looking for patterns. And it's coming from a few angles now. So I think that's something that might be pushed forward. Thank you very much, United States of America and every other country. But we will decide what our government looks like. And there's enough of us aware of what needs to happen. Certainly over the next couple of years, what needs to happen. There's a lot of work to do. None of it's difficult in terms of it's not complex. It's actually quite simplistic. In my head, I know exactly what I think we should all be doing. The path is clear for me. There is no confusion over what comes next. But I want to get this on everyone's radar. This is something we need to be thinking about and what that should look like. What ethics and morals and integrity do we need to see from future governments? For me, that's top of the list. Even knowledge base is slightly below that. You've got to have the right morals and ethics and be filled with the integrity that what you want to do is save your country. That is the most important thing for me moving forward. So sorry for this Sunday morning ramble. Sorry for all this you've got going on here that's not even showered yet. But it was at the forefront of my mind and I feel very, very passionate about it. And I think that everybody should have this on their radar and start thinking about what that looks like. Because I don't think we're a million miles away, guys. I don't think we're a million miles away. And there are those in this country already looking at what that may be. And I want everyone to get vocal right now and start talking about on social media, getting it across there. Share this video, even though I look like complete crap. Look at me. Share this video if you think it will help, that we want to start triggering this mindset. What do we want our country to look like moving forward? Do we want to take back our own culture? For me, that's quite strong. Do we want to value things like quality architecture, art, writing? You know, we've let all that stuff go. Those people have been subjects at school have been moved away from any sort of classical work. Outside, you know, the humanities are kind of getting pushed out the way and made way for science and maths and tech. And, you know, that progress hasn't really done us as a society overall any favours. But think about it. Think about it. I'd love to hear your comments. I'm still having trouble commenting on YouTube. It's a little bit annoying, but I will keep pushing ahead with that. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please do share this. This is how passionate I am about this stuff, that I'm prepared for you guys to share this far and wide whilst I look like this. But do let me know what you think. We've got to think of these things, guys. What comes next? How much do we want to have an influence over that? How do we have an influence over that? What do we do if a government comes into place and we're not happy with them? You know, we've learned our power. Let's use our power. And let's make sure that anything that happens moving forward is influenced by we the people, not a few selected people, we the people of the UK, and our voices be heard. Anyway, have a wonderful Sunday. God bless you all, and we'll speak again soon.